2025, a year that reshaped the world. The year 2025 will be remembered as a turning point, a year when global realities became impossible to ignore. Across politics, technology, climate, and culture, the events of 2025 did not happen in isolation. They collided, overlapped, and reshaped how nations, governments, and everyday people understood the future. For Americans and the global community alike, 2025 was a year of reckoning, adaptation, and profound change. One of the most defining themes of 2025 was the accelerating impact of climate change. Extreme weather events were no longer viewed as rare disasters, but as recurring realities. Across the United States, record-breaking heat waves scorched the Southwest, while historic flooding struck parts of the Midwest and Northeast. Wildfires intensified in California and the Pacific Northwest, pushing emergency response systems to their limits and forcing thousands of families to evacuate. Globally, powerful storms and rising sea levels displaced millions, particularly in coastal and island nations. These events turned climate change from a political debate into a lived experience for countless communities. At the same time, 2025 was marked by significant geopolitical tension. Relations between the United States and China remained strained, defined less by military confrontation and more by economic competition. Trade restrictions, especially around advanced semiconductor technology and artificial intelligence infrastructure, reshaped global supply chains. American policymakers framed these measures as national security protections, while critics warned of higher costs for consumers and increased economic fragmentation. For everyday Americans, this rivalry showed up in subtle ways: higher prices, technology shortages, and growing concerns about the future of global trade. Europe also faced ongoing challenges. The war in Ukraine continued to shape international alliances, defense spending, and energy policies. NATO expanded cooperation and reaffirmed commitments to collective security, while European nations pushed to reduce reliance on external energy sources. In the Middle East, fragile ceasefires offered moments of relief but failed to deliver long-term stability. Humanitarian crises persisted, reminding the world that diplomacy often moves slower than suffering. While conflict and climate dominated headlines, 2025 was also a year of remarkable technological acceleration. Artificial intelligence moved from experimental novelty to daily necessity. In the United States, AI tools became deeply embedded in education, healthcare, finance, and creative industries. Companies embraced automation to increase efficiency, while workers grappled with fears of job displacement. The national conversation shifted from "what can AI do?" to "how do we live with it responsibly?" Lawmakers debated regulations, tech leaders urged innovation freedom, and Americans found themselves navigating a future arriving faster than expected. Space exploration also captured public imagination in 2025. Governments and private companies launched ambitious missions, signaling a renewed global race beyond Earth's atmosphere. Advances in reusable rockets lowered costs, while lunar and Mars-focused projects reignited dreams of long-term space habitation. For many Americans, these achievements echoed the optimism of the space race era, a reminder that even in uncertain times, human curiosity and ambition remain powerful forces. Culturally, 2025 reflected a world searching for connection. Major sporting events, international tournaments, and global entertainment moments provided shared experiences across borders. In the United States, sports continue to serve as both escape and reflection, highlighting issues of identity, equality, and national pride. Women's sports saw record-breaking attendance and viewership, signaling a long-overdue shift in recognition and investment. Music, film, and digital content increasingly crossed cultural boundaries, shaping a more interconnected global audience. Domestic politics in the United States played a critical role in shaping the year's tone. Policy debates around the economy, immigration, climate action, and technology regulation intensified. Americans entered 2025 still deeply divided, yet increasingly aware that global events directly affect life at home. From grocery prices to energy bills, from job security to national safety, the distance between global affairs and daily life continued to shrink. Another notable aspect of 2025 was reflection on history. Several nations marked major anniversaries tied to World War II and past conflicts, prompting renewed discussions about peace, sacrifice, and collective memory. In the U.S., early preparations began for the country's 250th anniversary, sparking conversations about national identity, democratic values, and the lessons of history in a rapidly changing world. By the end of 2025, one truth became clear: this was not a year defined by a single event, but by convergence. Climate crises, geopolitical rivalry, technological leaps, and cultural transformation all unfolded at once. For Americans watching the news, scrolling their phones, or simply living their daily lives, the year felt heavy, but also meaningful. It forced societies to confront uncomfortable realities while imagining new possibilities. And as the world moved toward 2026, the question left behind by 2025 was not just what happened, but what comes next. As 2025 came to a close, it became clear that the year's importance wasn't limited to headlines or breaking news alerts. Its true impact lay in how deeply it reshaped expectations for the future. For Americans and people around the world, 2025 wasn't just another chapter in history. It was a moment of transition, where old systems were tested and new realities began to take shape. One of the most lasting effects of 2025 was the shift in how societies viewed preparedness. Climate-related disasters forced governments, businesses, and communities to rethink infrastructure, emergency planning, and sustainability. In the United States, cities accelerated investments in flood defenses, wildfire prevention, and heat-resilient power grids. Insurance markets adjusted, housing policies changed, and climate resilience became a mainstream concern rather than a niche issue. For many Americans, the question was no longer whether climate change was real, but how to live with its consequences. Economically, 2025 reinforced the fragility of global systems. Supply chain disruptions caused by geopolitical tensions and climate events highlighted how interconnected the world truly is. American consumers experienced fluctuating prices on everything from electronics to food, while companies sought to diversify manufacturing and reduce reliance on single regions. The concept of economic security expanded beyond military strength to include energy independence, technological leadership, and domestic production capabilities. Technology continued to redefine daily life at an unprecedented pace. Artificial intelligence, once seen as a tool of the future, became firmly embedded in the present. Schools used AI-powered platforms to personalize learning, hospitals relied on advanced algorithms to improve diagnostics, and businesses automated routine tasks at scale. While these changes increased efficiency, they also raised ethical and social questions. Concerns about data privacy, algorithmic bias, and workforce displacement dominated public discussions. In 2025, Americans increasingly demanded not just innovation, but accountability from the tech sector. The political landscape also evolved. Across the globe, voters expressed frustration with traditional institutions, pushing leaders to adapt or risk losing public trust. In the United States, political debates reflected a broader struggle to balance national priorities with global responsibilities. Foreign policy decisions, climate commitments, and economic strategies were no longer abstract concepts. They were personal issues affecting jobs, security, and quality of life. Civic engagement, especially among younger generations, showed signs of growth as people recognized the stakes of political participation. International cooperation faced both setbacks and breakthroughs. While rivalries between major powers continued, global summits and diplomatic efforts demonstrated that collaboration was still possible and necessary. Issues like climate change, public health, and technological regulation proved too complex for any single nation to handle alone. Even when agreements fell short, the conversations themselves signaled recognition that shared challenges require shared solutions. Culturally, 2025 left a powerful mark. Sports, entertainment, and digital media served as unifying forces during an otherwise turbulent year. Americans found moments of connection through major events, viral moments, and global celebrations. Women's sports reached new levels of visibility, reshaping perceptions and inspiring a new generation of athletes. Creative industries reflected the mood of the times, producing stories centered on resilience, identity, and hope amid uncertainty. Another defining legacy of 2025 was reflection. Anniversaries tied to historic global conflicts prompted renewed discussions about peace, leadership, and the cost of division. In the United States, early planning for the nation's 250th anniversary encouraged citizens to examine the country's founding ideals and how they apply in a modern, diverse society. These conversations were not always comfortable, but they were necessary, reminding Americans that progress requires both honesty and vision. By the end of the year, one lesson stood out above all others. Adaptation is no longer optional. Whether facing climate change, technological disruption, or geopolitical uncertainty, the world of 2025 demanded flexibility, cooperation, and long-term thinking. For Americans, the year reinforced a sense of shared responsibility, not just to protect national interests, but to contribute to global stability. Looking ahead, the legacy of 2025 will influence decisions for years to come. Policies shaped during this time will affect climate resilience, economic strategy, and technological governance well into the next decade. The questions raised in 2025 about sustainability, security, and human values will not fade quickly. In the end, 2025 was not simply a year of crisis or achievement. It was a year of awakening, a moment when the world collectively realized that the future is not something waiting to arrive. It is something being built day by day through the choices we make. And as history moves forward, 2025 will stand as a reminder that even in uncertainty, direction is possible. And the path ahead depends on how we respond. Some questions don't have simple answers. But what do you think? Is this the truth, or just the beginning? Subscribe to Era X to explore more. Until next time, welcome to a new era.